Matthew Adelaar Cormier de Brandieu is one of the Centrum Assembly's greatest naval heroes, and a historical figure of great popularity and renown, both for his impressive accomplishments and for his larger-than-life personality. Born in the Roulaix country estate of Brandieu on the 33rd of Equinox 061 PCU to a Roulaixan mother and Destran father, Matthew Cormier was the latest in a long family line of wealthy gamekeepers and landowners. From a young age, Cormier developed a prodigal aptitude for horsemanship and horseback game hunting, along with a deep and enduring fascination with the history of cavalry in warfare. Cormier was born near the start of what would become known as the Lennox Abeyance, a near-century of withdrawal from space expansionism across the Assembly, as Prime Minister Emery Lennox's policies of austerity were carried onwards by numerous subsequent administrations under the newly formed National Lennoxist Abationist Party. From young adulthood onwards, Matthew Cormier was a staunch opponent of Lennoxism and a devoted grey hat, with much of his grievances being centred around the reduced funding of the CDF and the repeated prevarication of action regarding increased organised pirate activity across the cluster, particularly in Rialtis and Pioneer. Easily securing a place at Silverwake Island Naval Academy thanks to his family connections, Cormier showed great academic aptitude, though had a propensity for tardiness and insubordination. In 079 PCU, he graduated as a midshipman and was assigned to the post-ship CSV Soberano. Ambitious and eager for his own command, Cormier did not take well to obedience. Frequently disciplined for insistently recommending new patrol routes and other courses of action he felt were superior to those of his captain, Cormier was bounced from assignment to assignment for several years, finding few commanding officers who could tolerate his attitude. Cormier passed his examination for ensign in 085 and received his commission as an ensign aboard the CSV Excellent. A hulking third-rate ship of the line, Cormier found life aboard the Excellent frustrating and slow, and was especially maddened by their inability to properly engage pirate vessels when they were rarely encountered, instead being only able to scare them away by their presence, leaving them to inevitably return later. Applying his historical obsession to modern tactics, Cormier became convinced that the answer to perfecting the art of pirate hunting in space lay in historic cavalry tactics. Sending repeated harassing messages to Admiralty House and to Keeper's Dance fleet yards throughout his long tenure on the Excellent, and plying his family connections, Cormier tried everything he could to pitch his new model of warfare for further development. Eventually, Cormier secured a crucial contact at Keeper's Dance in the form of a cousin of his first wife, who he discovered to be a senior development engineer at KDFY. With further negotiation, Cormier was finally able to secure a reassignment to the yard, and an opportunity to contribute heavily to the design of a new classification of brigantine, one that would be designed not only as an escort vessel for the line of battle, but to operate in squadrons with no larger vessels at all, a ship he hoped would form the basis of his new spaceborne cavalry doctrine, which he fittingly named the Cuirassier-class brigantine. Though unpopular with the Admiralty for his poor service record and constant jockeying for authority, Cormier was nevertheless finally able to secure his promotion to commander in 089, being offered mastery of the sloop of war CSV Falchigar, but chose to remain a staff commander for a year to await the completion of the ship he had fully set his heart upon, the CSV Cuirassier. Only 3 months into his tenure as commander of the Cuirassier, Cormier fought the famous action of Solstice 48th 090 PCU against the large and fearsome pirate vessel the Red Scream, formerly the Centron frigate CSV Lapwing, before it fell into the hands of pirates. A vessel twice the size and armament of his own, Cormier fought the Scream across more than a day and a half, making long, sweeping passes in and out of firing range, never shedding much of his momentum or decelerating that he might be pulled into close action. Harrying the larger ship in pass after pass and whittling it down piece by piece, Cormier eventually drove the pirate vessel to try and flee the scene, but unsatisfied with this outcome, Cormier ran the larger vessel down, disabled its engines, and to the shock of his own exhausted crew, ordered a boarding action. Rallying every man and woman aboard his tiny brigantine, from officers to kitchen hands, Cormier led a fierce charge aboard the pirate vessel, whose crew, despite being twice Cormier's number, were shocked into surrender by the baffling audacity of Cormier's attack. Swiftly laying down their weapons, the CSV Lapwing was once again returned to Centron's service. A man of historic charm and an infamous womanizer, Cormier married his second wife later that year, this time a CDF Commodore, a connection which he gleefully leveraged to drive his visions of spaceborne cavalry even further. Cormier was made post in early 93 PCU, having spent a remarkably short time as master and commander, and using every connection he had, began to build his anti-piracy squadron. With his charms and frequent ostentatious parties having won him several important friends in Parliament over the seasons, Cormier was finally able to force the cabinet to relent and allow him the funding and support to attempt to resolve their long-ignored piracy problem. As senior post-captain of a squadron of 12 brigantines, Cormier launched his first pirate hunting campaign in the Rialtas system, in and around the Rialtas end of the famous Brackenroot Strand, the most valuable trade lane in Tantalus and a frequent target of pirate gangs. Putting aside his traditional post-captain's small sword, Cormier began to insist on wearing a curved cavalry sabre, as well as donning the cocked hat of an ancient cavalryman, and adorning his spotless uniform with sashes and rosettes won in various equestrian competitions. As commander of the squadron, he would frequently hold forth with his subordinate commanders in his wardroom on the subject of cavalry, regaling them with accounts of historic battles and manoeuvres, which he insisted they all carefully study for their modern applications. Though several commanders could not bear to serve under him and requested reassignment, many others found themselves beginning to see the same value Cormier saw in these historic tactics, and before long he had refined his squadron to a team of cunning and fiercely loyal commanders, comrades in arms who he cherished as close friends and affectionately referred to as his retinue at arms. Cormier's foremost intent in any action was never to allow a pirate vessel to escape and return to its criminal activities at a later date, for which his cavalry tactics were especially well suited. As squadron commander, he would instruct his captains to always give chase once a pirate ship or formation had been forced into a rout, but to take careful measures never to actually catch up and force the enemy into action, where in desperation they would become far more dangerous. Instead, they would maintain chase at a close distance, driving the rout on and on, deeper into high-security areas or far off the ecliptic, where they might exhaust their supplies, or gently corralling them into the waiting jaws of another detachment of the squadron, where they might be surrounded and forced to surrender without further bloodshed. Cormier rarely employed his squadron as one unit, most often splitting it into detachments to allow for cunning envelopment tactics. He taught his captains to embrace control and coordination over strength, never allowing them to fight the enemy in a pitched battle, but sweeping and herding their quarries like a sheepdog and its flock, driving pirate vessels away from vulnerable merchants and into elaborate traps, and diligently scouting and inspecting suspicious vessels, being careful never to provoke a target to fight or flee unless the odds had been carefully arranged in their own favour beforehand. Across the course of almost 2 years, Cormier's squadron fought dozens of actions against pirates in the Rialtas system, dramatically reducing the system's pirate activity to far safer levels. Among both his supporters and his detractors, Cormier earned the moniker of the Mad Horsemen of Roulaix, a title he gleefully encouraged. Thank you for watching. You can get the Sojourn through various distributors, all of which are accessible through www.thesojournaudiodrama.com. You can also get the series through Patreon, where you'll be able to access various bonus features, including our visual dictionary, Guinevere cross-sections, and anthology shorts. Remember to join us on Discord and get regular updates on all upcoming Sojourn releases. All the related links can be found below this video. Fair winds.